spout, 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 tea, spout, tea, spout, tea, spout, tea, spout, tea, tea, spout, tea, spout, tea, spout, tea.
I like a nice
Tea.
cup of tea in the morning.
You've got your pot and your cup and your strainer and your tray, and you know that it's gonna be a very good day, and it feels like nothing's gonna get in your way, 'cause it's time for a cup of tea. You've got your tray and your cup and your saucer and your jug, and the kettle's turned on. Why don't you go and check the plug? And you'd rather have a dainty cup and not a builder's mug, 'cause it's time for a cup of tea. Oh, cup of tea, helps me see the gravity. Cup of tea, gives me such vitality. Cup of tea, won't you have the tea with me? And perhaps a bourbon biscuit. You've got your sugar and your bowl and your milk and your spoon, and that's the kind of way that I'd spend the afternoon. 'Cause when the electric kettle boils, that's my favourite tune. Yes, it's time for a cup of tea. Oh, cup of tea, helps me see the gravity. Cup of tea, gives me such vitality. Cup of tea, won't you have the tea with me? And perhaps a piece of cake.
Hey, Robert, if you like tea so much, then why don't you go and write a show all about it?
Well, you know what, buddy boy, I think I just might, and it would start something like this. Behold, this humble leaf, picked tips, basketed buds, crushed and dried from warmer climes, a slew of boiling water, this beverage of kings, this everyday magic potion that has always been there for me. Through anything good or bad that's happened, any minor triumph or crushing disappointment, the answer has always been to have a cup of tea. I'm only 6 miles from home, Mrs. Henderson. Pop the kettle on, I'm gasping. Tea, cuppa, char, brew, a tea for you and a tea for me. Cuppa, tea, tea, tea. That is how I'd start a show about tea.
I'm rapping with my tray and I'm gonna move your way. This is what I have to say, 'cause what I need today is a cup of Earl Grey. That would be most pleasant. You know what is new? It's the things that I do. I spit my rhymes so hard and they're coming at you. I hang out with my crew and my homies too. I say, hey lads, would you care for a brew? 1 lump or 2? I'll be mother, shall I? I'm a funky mother cuppa lover. Got a cuppa with my supper, but my plans you cannot scupper. Put no milk in, watch me splutter. I'm the bread and you're the butter. Got a scone too, add it to my song. Gonna make it disappear. Scone. Yo, sup, pass me a cup. If you wanna have a coffee, then I guess you're out of luck. Got a caddy, who's the daddy with his caddy. Got a teapot, got a cosy, got a decaf, makes me dozy. And I prefer the milk in first, if you really must be nosy. 'Cause I'm wild and I'm free, and it's brewing, you see. 'Cause seriously, this is all about tea. This is all about tea. This is all about tea.
Where do you keep the tea bags, Nana? And my gran would always say, 1 for each person and 1 for the pot. My gran would always say, I expect you'll be putting the kettle on in a minute. My gran would always say, 1 cup of tea, not too full, mind you, 1 cracker, lightly buttered, thank you. My gran had one of those whistle things on the kettle on the stove, and as it boiled it would get louder and louder, and the steam would thrust from the nozzle, and it would get louder and louder, and just when you thought that it was getting somewhere,
it would fall off. Steam rising from kettle, spout on my tea bag, see the dispersal, Mrs. Henderson. A splash of milk, momentary cumulonimbus, thunderheads in the porcelain, that Somerset mud consistency as builders brew, goodness oozes, diffuses, extricate the tea bag and give it an extra squeeze, now stir gentle that good cup. A stroke of loving, a dainty sip, dainty lip on dainty fine porcelain, and ooh, it hits the spot. It hits the spot. The spot that needed hitting is hit by a brew, by a cuppa, that mellow blend, life-affirming, thirst-quenching, re-energising, spirit-perking, boredom-shifting. Use the strainer to do some sifting. The gloom that surrounds me now is lifting. It's tea, it's tea, it's tea, it's tea for me.
You see, this show is all about tea. But it's about more than just tea. You see, tea unites people. It brings people closer together. In a funny sort of way, when you're saying, would you like a cup of tea? What you're actually saying is, you know what? You're all right. I don't mind spending a bit of time with you. Because you go into the supermarket and you see all those brightly coloured boxes wrapped in cellophane. Because you're buying into the dream, aren't you? Of escape, of 5 minutes away from the humdrum. These boxes are hinting at some kind of underlying philosophy. That today, no matter what else happens, I will mostly drink tea. Today, I will mostly drink tea, and I'll make the occasional wisecrack, and I'll try and make people laugh, and I'll hopscotch on mathematics, and I'll do other things too, but mostly I will drink tea. Today, I will not lunge at anyone, and I'll mostly not have a moustache, and if the sun is too bright, I'll squint. And I will not laugh at the unfortunate. And I'll just be myself, physically impossible as it is to be anyone else. But mostly, I will drink tea. Today, I shall slither through people's consciousnesses like a computer virus and dance temptingly outside the empty house of my darkest dreams and push up life like it's a sash window, letting the love flow through like fresh air. And I'll be retweeted by a ghost and I'll do the washing up, but mostly I will drink tea. Today, I will have eyelashes, and I'll breathe, I'm doing it now. And I'll take my linen suit out of a tumble dryer, tell it a joke and watch as it creases up. And I'll act like a grown-up, but mostly I will drink tea. And I shall jimmy and jitterbug, sway to imaginary rhythms, find hidden subtext in rhymes, smile, shake hands, make friends, hide behind false veneers, wear masks, gel my hair, shower, wash off layers, hide away from the world, be ever so quiet, shout it from the rooftops, push TV aerials and watch them quiver, jive, smile, laugh, dance, write my name in the sand, eat, sleep, drink, tell jokes, cultivate punchlines, doze, live viciously, live with vehemence, and try not to grab it all, while making it look like it's really no effort, that these things just kind of happen. Today I shall live sublime, with the absolute screaming conviction that this, oh this, yes this is life. But enough about me. Today I will mostly drink tea. Have you ever gone into a cafe and asked for tea And they've said, what kind of tea? And you say, well, just normal tea. And they say, do you mean English breakfast tea? And you say, is that normal tea? And they say, yes. And then they go behind them, where they've got all these fiddly little drawers of all these different blends of tea, but the English breakfast tea is kept in a big box, because that's the one that everyone wants. And if that's the case, then why don't they just call it tea? Life can be unnecessarily complicated. One cup of tea, not too full, mind you. One cracker, lightly buttered, thank you. Nana, do you remember that joke that you used to tell? That joke about the kettle that used to make the tea taste funny. Do you remember that joke? And how in the joke you got your neighbour to come round and try and fix it. And they weren't an expert or anything. They used gaffer tape and super glue. But they managed to fix it, and afterwards the tea just tasted fine. Do you remember that joke? Do you remember the punchline of the joke? A botched kettle never spoils. I still don't get it. Oh, Nana. Early morning mist. Sun shining through the haze. It's all done by Wi-Fi these days.
Hello, my name is Mark. I like my tea in a cup with a tea bag, milk and 2 sweeteners. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Yellow label tea served black in a pint mug. Shelley Zender, poet, 49 years and 10 months.
I'm Rob Casey and I like my tea milky with 1 sugar. But if there isn't any sugar, a little bit of honey will do nicely.
Hello, I'm Auntie Puss, the public school punk balladeer, and I don't mind a nice glass of chai, but I'd rather have a cold Kingfisher beer.
My name is I Am Serial Killer. I am the only Englishman that hates tea. I also hate Shakespeare.
The Devil's Brew. I'd rather have the offerings of next door's tomcat.
Good afternoon, Robert. This is Graham Birchall speaking. I don't usually like to have fun, but I do quite enjoy a mug of Lapsang Souchong of an afternoon at 4 or 4:10 p.m. To this, I apply a soup song, not a Souchong, of milk, and breathe in the aromas of a pine forest.
I take my tea with no milk, no sugar, and just lemon.
Hello, Robert. This is Shane Clifford speaking, and I like my tea with just enough tea bag, only 1, that is, and maybe stewed for about 2 seconds, followed by hot water, no sugar, and a little bit of milk. Not too weak and not too dark. Thank you very much, and take it easy.
So I was thinking to myself the other day, because you can't really think to other people, I was thinking, in the 1950s, they thought the future was going to be so amazing, didn't they? They thought we'd all have underwater cities and flying cars and labour-saving devices and robots cooking us dinner, and if you broke your leg, you could take a pill and everything would be better. But the future is here now, and all we've really got is Ed Sheeran. But there's one thing that does give me hope, that maybe the future really is here, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the development of the
the self-squeezing tea bag. Oh, the self-squeezing tea bag. You just pull the strings and the tea bag squeezes itself. It's an amazing development in tea bag design, fiercely opposed, as you might think, by the powerful spoon manufacturers' lobby, because apparently we were all wasting too much time going to the kitchen and opening a drawer and looking to a teaspoon. But it got me thinking, what else out there helps us on a day-to-day business? My friend Barry always wanted to swim with dolphins. Oh, how it pained him inside. As luck would have it, his niece had the keys to the Basingstoke aquarium. Grab your bathers, she said, and knock yourself out. My friend Jim always wanted to have a cannonball fired at his stomach in the circus. Oh, how it pained him inside. As luck would have it, his window cleaner's nephew was a circus strongman. Grab your leopard print tunic, he said, and knock yourself out. And me? I've always wanted to make a cup of tea without using a teaspoon. Oh, how it's pained me inside. As luck would have it, I've bought a box of easy squeezed tea bags and I've knocked myself out. Proof that you will always get your reward if you pull the right strings. Nana, I don't know why I'm telling you this. It's not like we were ever really close. But perhaps it's because we're kind of similar. Or perhaps it's because you're dead, and I know you're not going to tell me the truth. Nana, there's this coffee shop that I go to. I'm such a rebel. I go to the coffee shop and I have a cup of tea. There's this man who works in there. He's a barista, which I thought was something to do with law. He works behind the counter. He's utterly gorgeous. Oh, Nana, he's gorgeous. And every time I go in, I get this vibe, subtle messages. He smiles, he winks. He asks me what I'm doing tonight. He gave me his phone number. Oh, these subtle signs are too hard to read. But Nana, I just can't pluck up the courage. I'm too afraid to speak to him. I'm too afraid to say, let's go out for a drink sometime. That would make my day. I'm too afraid to speak to him. He's like some poster boy. They charge so much for the drinks in here, but it brings me so much joy. I'm too afraid to speak to him. I watch him making coffee. I'd like to have a cappuccino with him, all hot and moist and frothy. I'm too afraid to speak to him. The servings here are paltry. I watch him crank his coffee machine, all nonchalant and sultry. I'm too afraid to speak to him. He gives me occasional winks. Each time he does, I go back to the counter and order another tray of drinks. I'm too afraid to speak to him. He must work out at the gym. His muscles bulge as he wipes down the table with Ajax and bleach and vim. I'm too afraid to speak to him. Perhaps we should go for some tea. But after a day surrounded by tea, he probably wouldn't want yet more tea. I'm too afraid to speak to him. He makes me want to shout every time he picks up his J-cloth and cleans the end of his spout. I'm too afraid to speak to him. We talk about our feelings, coming home from work each night smelling of Darjeeling. I'm too afraid to speak to him. I really should get a grip. To him I'm just a customer who never leaves a tip. Oh, it's all so depressing. It really is. So that's why I went out today and I bought this. The Big Book of Tea Jokes, Brew Ha Ha, foreword by Professor Brian Cox.
Foreword by Professor Brian Cox. I have always liked 3 things in life: a darn good joke, a nice cup of tea, and the entire universe. As this is definitely Professor Brian Cox who's writing this, I'd just like to say that it ticks all the right boxes. It's filled with funny jokes, the jokes are about tea, and it's in the universe. I hope you enjoy these jokes. Yours, definitely, Professor Brian Cox. P.S. This is actually me. Where does the golfer keep his teas? In his caddy. Why does a Belgian teapot look different to any other kind of teapot? Because it has a Brussels spout. Why are tea makers always so controversial? Because they're always creating a stir. Why does tea taste better from equipment that has been mended? Because a botched kettle never spoils. I still don't get it. My dad was always making a little tea-based joke of his own. My dad would lift the teapot up and pour a thin trickle of tea into the cup far below. "High tea," he'd say, and we'd all roar with laughter. Perfect equidistance, holding the strainer dexterously so that it captured mini clods of tea leaf in its dented wire mesh. "High tea," he'd say, and we'd all roar with laughter. So he'd experiment, stand on a chair, on a footstool, on a step ladder, anything to gain the necessary elevation. "High tea," he'd say, and we'd all roar with laughter. One day, a passing ice cream van backfired, yet not a flinch did we see, his perfect aim assuring that the tea ended up just in the cup. "High tea," he'd say, and we'd all roar with laughter. So the next day, he hired a 40-foot ladder, and he climbed to the very top. "High tea," he'd say, and we'd all roar with laughter. And the next day, he hired a hot air balloon piloted by a chap with an exuberant moustache, and he climbed in the basket. And the hot air balloon went up and up and up until it was just a speck in the sky, and just at the moment he was about to repeat his usual joke with the teapot, a sudden gust of wind blew the hot air balloon away over the horizon, and we never saw him again. I never did like that teapot anyway, my mum said. And since then, we've always used tea bags.
Hello, and welcome to your English lesson for today. Please find the appropriate place in your workbook. Repeat the following phrases. Would you like a cup of tea?
Would you like a cup of tea?
I would love a cup of tea.
I would love a cup of tea.
Well, why don't you put the kettle on?
Well, why don't you put the kettle on?
Well, why don't you put the kettle on?
I beg your pardon?
I'm the guest here. You should be making the tea.
But you're the one that asked for
So that's 1 cup of tea, not too full, mind you. 1 cracker, lightly buttered, thank you.
Nana? Is that you?
Hello there. Yes, I see you're still plugging away at this spoken word nonsense. So I've made a little rhyme of my own. Would you like to hear it?
No, that's fine, because I'm halfway through a show here and really haven't got...
It's called Poem. I yearn for an urn. I want to brew with you. I want to boil and simmer, so clammy and moist and hot. Your breath in my spout, you rising like steam. Your heat causing my lid to clog with condensation. I want you hot in my pot, so that I can slurp your caffeine perking me up. I want you in my cup. I want to put my spoon in and stir you, splashing you silly with my milk. I want to be your teapot. I want to fill you in me so hot.
That's quite enough of that, quite enough of that. Sorry, I do apologise. So why do we need to keep subverting the idea of the plainly obvious? I went into a cafe the other day where they'd gone beyond the current trend of using things other than plates, like slate tiles and shovels, and they'd gone back to using plates again. Hooray! Except the plates were turned upside down. What about cat cafes? What's wrong with normal cafes? Whatever next? Warthog wine bars, pelican pizzerias, badger bistros? My discomfort with the idea of cat cafes can be summed up in one word: hygiene. And I know they use cats that shower daily, but they've got to do their business somewhere, haven't they? There's got to be a litter tray somewhere on the premises. That's why I never order anything with the granola. This is all getting very trendy.
Dim dim da da dee. Dim dim da da dee. Dim dim da da dee.
I wanted a cuppa to spend part of the afternoon in a greasy spoon. I didn't realise there was so much ado about getting a brew. I suppose you could call it shabby chic, set up inside the ruins of a burned-out Poundland, with bare wood tables that look like they could give you a nasty splinter, the kind of sofa you see dumped next to the A389, and a blackboard menu scrawled with inspirational quotes. The only death is that of hope. Walnut cake, £4.49. I thought to myself, this ain't no Cafe Nero.
Dim dim da da dee. Dim dim da da dee.
Tables were dotted haphazardly among artwork made from bicycle clips. A bookshelf laden with such titles as Finding Your Inner Gnome, The Dummy's Guide to Ironic Detachment, How to Gentrify a Gasworks, 101 Things to Do with an Empty Moustache Wax Pot. The place served bacon butties served not on plates, but on decommissioned iPads. Side salad slung into toy Tonka dumper trucks. The all-day breakfast was only served until 11.
Dim dim da da dee. Dim dim da da dee.
The young man behind the counter smiles from beneath his big bushy beard. It might have been an ironic smile, or it might have been a real smile. It's hard to tell these days. What would you like, he asks. A cup of tea, please. Certainly. When it comes to tea, this is the place to be. We've got lemon tea, peppermint tea, strawberry tea, raspberry tea, tea infused with spices from the Caribbean tea. Tea served to queens, tea served to kings, tea once supped briefly by President Obama. Tea passed under the breath of a lama, not a llama, but a Buddhist holy man. Tea filled with love, tea filled with drama, tea from a valley in the glare of the moon.
billowing fruit tea, willow tree tea, tea carefully chosen by Dame Judy Dench.
Dim dim da da dee. Dim dim da da dee.
We've got lapsang, souchong, koolong, oolong. Don't leave the bag in for too long. Lung ching, dong ding, Darjeeling. Adding milk is not the done thing. Hibiscus tea, risk-free tea, tea to have with the biscuit tea. Detoxifying tea, unorthodox tea, demystifying tea, unoxidized tea. Tea to have with milk that's pasteurized tea. Calming tea, balming tea, chamomile. Disarming tea, charming tea, tea that makes you calm a while. Boost-free tea, juice fruit tea, moose beef tea, loose leaf tea. Tea blended with 60 essential vitamins tea. Tea extracted from one small tree which only blooms once every 30 years, and only then if it's been sung opera nightly by a specially trained soprano. Tea which you have to soak for 3 days beforehand in self-righteousness tea. Green tea, obscene tea, tea for television prepared off-screen tea. Tea which hums to the strains of a Patagonian harpsichordist. Teas in all their omniscient splendour. Tea which is ever so anti-social, just doesn't feel the need to blend in. Tea, I said tea, I said tea, I said tea. You want it, we got it. You get it, you drink it. Tea. And then there was a shout from outside. Carl got his beard caught in his bicycle chain.
Dim dim da da dee. Dim dim da da dee.
My aunt died. We accidentally mixed up her ashes with the Earl Grey. Brings a whole new meaning to the expression, a cup of Rosie. Her name was Rosie. She pined for those old traders who had knocked from door to door. The muffin man, a tray of muffins balanced precariously on his head. The crumpet man, a tray of crumpets balanced precariously on his head. The roll man, the bun man, the bap man, all of them with trays balanced precariously on their heads. Oh, you should have seen them fighting in the street. They were kicking off. One for each person and one for the pot. My mother always used to say that there was this old wives' tale that if you accidentally used someone else's teaspoon, then your first child would have ginger hair. This is something that will happen less often with the advent of the easy squeeze tea bag. I remember afternoons with my Aunt Rosie. The warmth of the teapot belly radiates out into grim furnishings. The accumulated mantelpiece knick-knacks jingle as a Boeing 777 thunders down the adjacent runway. Eternal bow and porcelain, roses on the sugar bowl, dainty finery and village green aspirations. The net curtains smell ever so faintly of aviation fuel. The teapot's spout is elegantly tapered. She pours with care into a brittle cup and speaks with passion of post-war rations and how she was never evacuated. A Messerschmitt once fired at the railway line narrowly missed her. This teapot survived the Blitz, she says. I shop for Darjeeling in Lidl's. It's better than the blends we had back then. No ancient ceremony, this. Superfluous saucer and tapestry-thatched cottages. Photos of holiday homes. Another jet revs its engines to the detriment of Delft figurines. It's all about how much milk you put in, she says. She swears by full fat, and she puts in last. Otherwise, all the flavour is lost. Would you like a cup of tea? My Aunt Rosie would say. And then she would get her tea towel, and she would put on her apron, and she would sing a little song, and she would always do the same little dance for us.
I do like tea, I do like tea. If there's one thing I like, it's a nice cup of tea. I do like tea, I do like tea, I do like tea. I do like tea, I do like tea. If there's one thing I like, it's a nice cup of tea. I do like tea, I do like tea. It's time for a cup of tea. I do like tea, I do like tea. If there's one thing I like, it's a nice cup of tea. I do like tea, I do like tea, I do like tea. I do like tea, I do like tea. If there's one thing I like, it's a nice cup of tea. I do like tea, I do like tea. It's time for a cup of tea.
My dad was a civil servant for most of his life. And for many years I would ask my mum what it was that he did as a job. And she used to say, he sits in an office all day and he drinks tea. And for years I thought this actually was his job. And he was there working tirelessly helping the British tea industry. Mind you, she also used to say that he wasn't allowed to look out the windows in the morning because this would give him nothing to do in the afternoons. Aunt Rosie, bless her. She got her hand caught in the car door. Oh my God, it must have hurt. Hot sweet tea, my uncle said. That's what it always says in the first aid books. Hot sweet tea. So he ran to the kitchen and he made her a cup of tea, but he put salt in instead of sugar. Didn't help in the slightest. A couple of years ago, one of the tea companies started experimenting. And they came up with the idea of instant tea, based on the same promise as instant coffee, in that it comes in granules in a jar. But there's no such thing as instant coffee, is there? You've still got to boil the kettle. What do we do with the time that it takes for the kettle to boil? Kettle plugged in and 2 cups out. We got 3 minutes, let's fool about. It won't take long for what we need, and then we'll have a nice cup of tea. Up the stairs and to the bed, I scrape my chin upon your neck. You laugh and play with my chest hair. You're wearing Star Trek underwear. The sound of the kettle comes in the doorway. We haven't got time for any foreplay. You lick this, I'll fondle that. I'm semi-skimmed and you're full fat. We'll fill the night with tenderness and love sublime that we are blessed. Let's start this now. 2 minutes left, that's hardly time to get undressed. So close to you as to feel your breath. I'm really glad our neighbour's deaf. Oh, Jeff, I cry. Oh, Jeff, my name's not Jeff. You say it's Sebastian. Is there a force which did create us? A philosophy on which the basis is a night of bliss after a long hiatus? You stop and tag me in a Facebook status. That's good, you say. That's good, that's good, that's good, that's good, that's so good. That's good, that's good, that's so good, that's not so good. Where on earth did you get those sugar tongs from? 1 minute left, not long to go. Let's do this thing, go with the flow. I'm the butter and you're the muffin. Hold on tight, here goes nothing. Come on now, let's do this thing. You take my heart and make it sing. Project to me your deep desire. Let's take this night, set it on fire. The kettle's warming, we haven't long. I never fail, don't prove me wrong. No time to lose, that's it, let's go. That feels so nice, I love you so. The kettle's louder, I can hear it simmer. The stars are shining, watch them glimmer. And now it's louder, hear it shout. The steam is rising from the spout. It's almost time, so hold on tight. It's almost time, this is the night. It's almost time, this feels so right. It's almost time. Click. Oh, the kettle's boiled. I think I'll make us a nice cup of tea. Oh, that was all very fraught. So if it's okay for you, I'm just going to relax, sit back and listen to my favourite podcast.
It's the #1 tea astrology podcast, Mystic Dregs. Hello there. This is DJ JD, and this is the tea astrology chart podcast for this month. Okay, here we go. If you're tea, milk, 1 sugar, this is what the next week or so is looking like for you. With Darjeeling in retrograde, today could be a good day for going out and buying a loofah. So it's loofah time if you are tea, milk, 1 sugar. At around 4 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, you will find 20 pence in your coat pocket. So there you go, tea, milk, 1 sugar, 20p in your coat pocket to look forward to. What else have we got here? We got tea, milk, 2 sugars. And it's looking like this for you if you are tea, milk, 2 sugars. With Twinings running your passion chart, today is a good day to sort out your pants drawer. Also, you might want to go and check out that funny smell that's coming from behind the fridge. Okay, behind the fridge for you if you are tea, milk, 2 sugars. Okay, next we move on to tea, no milk, no sugar. So that is basically tea with no milk, nothing in it, just tea and water, of course. You've got to have your water in there. Your astrology is your hemorrhoids are clearing up nicely. And there's one more left in this podcast. This is me, DJ DJD, with Mystic Dregs. Tea, milk, no sugar.
Ah, that's my one.
So if you are tea, milk, no sugar,
Yep.
Anyone out there?
Yeah, me.
This is how your week is looking. Let's face it, Buster. You're alone, and you always will be, and there's nothing to save you from the hideous curse of your unique loneliness, which looms silently like a phantom over everything that you do. Okay, so that's the week ahead for you. Of course, you've got to remember, unlike a cup of tea, these things are going to be taken with a pinch of salt. The tea drinker's horoscope, they're all water signs. Anyway, this is me, DJ JD DJD, signing off for another week. It's the #1 tea astrology podcast, Mystic Dregs.
Once upon a wild moon, in the midst of the enchanted forest, 6 miles west of Heathrow, a 2-up, 2-down cottage, red brick smoothed by the centuries, sheltered in suburbia, in a land of forgetting. He's staying with his grandmother. There are no monsters here, though Nana has her moments. The cottage, a warm embrace giving shelter against the demons of the modern age, though the relentless rain has made several incursions into the kitchen, the popping of the gas fire, the whine of her hearing aid, the woodland perpetual gloom. "I expect you'll be making a cup of tea in a minute," she says. Flickers of lightning, rumbles of thunder. There's a storm brewing as well as the tea. Middle of summer, it's sultry and it's hot. One for each person and one for the pot. "Nana, why don't you just put a tea bag in a cup?" A simple request as the kettle boils. Nana is aghast. She visibly recoils. The air fizzes with potential storm. There's something amiss when you deviate from the norm. Teabag in a cup? Teabag in a cup? It's not how we do it. It's not how it's done. A teabag in a cup just doesn't sound like fun. My dear, I think you've lost the plot. It's one for each person and one for the pot. You know how to do it. You boil and you brew it. There's really nothing to it. That's one cup of tea, not too full, mind you. One cracker lightly buttered, thank you. He sees his reflection in the rain-speckled window. A glimpse so gorgeous. He gasps as he grasps the kettle from the stove, fills the pot, it's ever so hot, watches the steam rise from the spout, and Nana nods knowingly. Everything is as it should be. We've always had our tea this way. It comes in a pot with some saucers on a tray. It's nice that you should come and stay, but leave modernity at the door. Now drink up, my boy. Last of the summer wine is on in a minute. Was life not always this way? Those who reach out with quivering fingertips into the very depths of human progress, are they not shunned or mocked, ridiculed, despised, or in prison locked? Their dreams tarnished and their hopes knocked, just for being themselves. Teabag in a cup. Teabag in a cup. It's now very late, almost 8:30. Nana retires to her bedroom, taking with her one cup of tea, not too full, mind you, and our hero stares out the back bedroom window at the lights of distant London, so close as almost to touch, the rain sheeting down, glistening from slate tile roofs. There's lightning on the horizon, illuminating the pinnacle of Canary Wharf, a mistimed jagged heartbeat of thunder. His gran, death, will surely slumber through the fiercest weather. Lightning flashes once more, and he becomes transfixed again by the absolute perfection of his own reflection, because did I mention he's incredibly good looking? All of a sudden, an eerie light, as if afire the night, a blue glow bright, a fizz crack in the gloom, sparks of static dance in the room, ball lightning spitting tongues of sulphur, sending the shadow of the window frame from wall to wall. He cowers as the window itself becomes ever intense. He shields his eyes with his hand and is about to cry out in agony and fear, when the light suddenly disappears, and a lone figure, as if by magic, manifests himself in the room before him. A middle-aged man, a handsome man, a tall and strong and powerful man, athletic, classically good-looking, though possibly a little bit overweight. He's never seen someone so utterly gorgeous. What blessed witchcraft is this? Who are you? He asks. To which the figure gazed upon him, and I reply, hello, I'm Robert Garnham, the spoken word artist. I'm you from the future. Do not cower. I'm here to impart a wisdom gleaned from years apart, that I may offer some supernatural solace. And also, I might need to use the loo. Time travel does weird things to the bladder. First, let me answer any question you may have. Do you have flying cars in the future? No. Do you have underwater cities? No. Do we all now live in a world of peace? No. Is Gardener's World still on? Yes. What date will I have the best sex of my life? August the 22nd, 2002, and it will involve a pair of handcuffs and a Walls Viennetta. Oh, the future. You can listen to a podcast on Bluetooth, a live stream on YouTube, but put away those cassettes, you won't need them. You can face-bomb a selfie and watch Made in Chelsea, but put away that Kodak Instamatic, you won't need it. You can play with a fidget spinner and take pictures of your dinner, but put away that poster of Adam Ant, he's yesterday's man. The future is mucked up, trumped up, celebrity obsessed, influencer dressed, fake news, blog views, Wi-Fi, swipe right, alternative facts and multi-packs, Netflix and Brexit, and oh my God, don't even get me started on Morrissey. Life is maybe a kilter, add #no filter. The future won't return any calls, the future is a kick in the balls. Truly, he says to me, you are a man from the future. Tell me, thou time-travelled Titan, thou knowest my fate and the years I must wait till that which ails me doth vanish like sausage rolls at a wake. Put at ease my addled mind and spake forthwith that I should dare hope for a time in which that which marks me as different is accepted by the majority. And also next week's lottery numbers, that would also be nice. To which I am apt to reply, be yourself. Be patient. Don't be afraid to love. Dare to dream and dare to hope and never apologise for being different. The future in all its gleaming glory will arrive the moment you least expect, like a pair of Y-fronts in a microwave. Cherish your desires, cherish your friends, cherish your dreams apart from that one about the duck wearing a fez, and most of all, cherish your family, for they will not always be around. In any case, I must go now. I've got skirting boards to paint, and that always makes me feel emotional. But heed this one more piece of wisdom. In 30 years' time, you will write a show about tea. That's enough time to try and think of some jokes for a section in the middle. Make them good ones. Farewell, my younger self, farewell. And with that, like a demon scared of its own haunting, I disappear. Oh, this futuristic phantom flinging flickers of fate, a step across the divide of time for which we must but wait, a whisper of truth in the night of the soul, a dream in beauty, a destiny foretold. The storm subsides, and the suburbs slumber, a sleep so silent, so deep. He wakes to a world of wondrous sun, birdsong in the forest, woodpeckers and pigeons. He appears downstairs and his gran says, I expect you'll be putting the kettle on in a minute. Let me guess, he says, one for each person and one for the pot. To which Nana smiles and replies, my dear, you can do it whichever way you want. Well, thank you for coming to my show about tea. It wasn't a calamity like I thought it would be, this show about tea. You see, I had fun, and I hope you did too. It's kind of like a brew that I shared with you, and now it's time for the washing up. Pass me your cup. My name is Robert Garnham, and this has been Spout.
I do like tea, I do like tea. If there's one thing I like, it's a nice cup of